our presentation on the effects of social media on behavior by Esteban, Christian, Ovett, Isaac, and Nico. Our subtopics are: I will be talking about the spread of misinformation, Esteban will be talking on social media beauty standards, Christian will be talking about social media effect on empathy, Isaac will be talking about social media algorithm influence, and Nico will be talking about anxiety caused by social media. So the spread of misinformation by me. I'll be talking about the widespread of false information in our society and how it greatly influences how people think and behave. In this part of the presentation, I want to give you an extensive understanding of this problem and where the spread of misinformation starts. One serious problem that impacts a lot of society is the communication of false information. Our textbook defines misinformation as any information that spreads that is inaccurate or misleading, regardless of its purpose for it. Because social media platforms can quickly spread false narratives, this trend is especially common in the digital age. The sociological idea of the quote-unquote echo chamber effect, which states that people are largely exposed to information that confirms their pre-existing opinions, aids in our understanding of this problem. Echo chambers create an environment where misinformation can thrive unchecked, according to Smith 2023. Furthermore, people are more likely to believe information that supports what they believe, even if it is false. According to the theory of confirmation bias, according to Jones 2022, confirmation bias makes people more prone to misinformation, causing them to favor information that supports their pre-existing beliefs. Promoting the media literacy, which enables people to access both the reliability of sources and the accuracy of the information they take in, is one resistance tactic to combat misinformation. I'll begin by providing an overview of misinformation and its consequences. I'll use images of the bar graph and other examples to highlight specific examples of false information. This image, which will help show how common false information is how it can deceive the general public, according to Statistica 2024. This image shows the amount of misinformation that is being spread, which shows mostly social media accounts, along with politics being a main factor. Many examples, such as political parties fighting, and a great example is actually Donald Trump, former and now president, when he was getting impeached, and other examples too, where politics are fighting. A lot of social media accounts create false information over it.
Social media's effects in the changes of beauty standards. So, to give a little bit more context on this topic, you need to understand who exactly is affected, how does it affect them, and what results from this. Now, social media is often used by teenagers and young adults. A vast majority of the user base is actually teenagers and young adults. Because of this, social media will cater towards this group of individuals. And oftentimes, it very easily diminishes their self-worth because of social media. It's very easy to compare on social media. This often leads to like a warped sense of beauty and body dissatisfaction, which ends up resulting in a physical and mental struggle with themselves. This damage on the mental health can often lead to unhealthy habits that damage the physical health because of this pursuit of a standard of beauty that is unrealistic and is often unhealthy. So how does it work, and what does it look like? First of all, we need to understand the spread and the mechanism behind it. While friends and family may be a spread, that's not exactly what we're looking at here when we're dealing with social media. In social media, it's often strangers online who are spreading these beliefs. And while you may not believe that strangers hold much weight in your opinions, this is often incorrect, mainly because of socialization. Humans are inherently social creatures, and it is through our experiences in our society that we internalize norms, values, and beliefs. Now, a teenager or a young adult who may not have as much experience in society can often internalize norms, values, and beliefs that are inherently false or harmful towards their health. And this can be done through social media. So, what can be done? Restriction. Limiting or restricting access to social media can be a solution, but what is a much healthier solution would be education. Through education, you can help solidify and help internalize norms, values, and beliefs that are beneficial that towards a teen.
Now that we've talked about the beauty standards set by social media as well as its source for spreading misinformation, let's dive deep into the relationship between social media and empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is the capability to connect with what someone else is going through by imagining themselves in that other person's situation. One understands the other person's experience as if it had been lived by themselves, but without actually experiencing it. In other words, it's you putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Now, does it connect with social media? The relationship between empathy and social media really varies depending on the situation or the context between something. It could vary depending on several factors, including the nature of the interaction, specific platform used, those platforms being Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Let's talk about a scenario where people can empathize with others in a positive context. Assume someone posts a deeply personal story on Instagram, maybe regarding their battle with mental health, a recent loss, or an event that changed their lives. When others respond with encouraging comments, messages, or even share similar experiences, there is a strong sense of connection. In this context, social media can provide a platform for people to interact, express their vulnerability, and provide emotional support. This type of interaction can be extremely powerful, making people feel seen, heard, and appreciated in ways they may not have in their everyday lives. There was also research conducted on the matter of empathy and social media. An article from Google Scholar, researched by Rosen, 2012, suggests that people who use social networks and instant messaging platforms like Facebook are better at expressing empathy online rather than in person. This is referred to virtual empathy, which Rosen posits is a real concept, although not as significant as real-world empathy. Now that we've gone over social media and empathy in a positive concept, let's talk about the negative. As mentioned before, social media sets certain unfair beauty standards to individuals when there are instances where those standards aren't met. People's ability to empathize with others can become stagnant. This poses a question. Is social media a factor in what influences others to look down on people? It is encouraged that people empathize with others because it creates a sense of connection. However, there have been times where people empathize too much. People call this empathy burnout. An example of this is when a person is regularly expending much of their energy to care for others to the point where they themselves feel exhausted. The trend is particularly pronounced on social media because users are constantly flooded with distressing content ranging from personal tragedies shared by friends and family to current events such as natural disasters. As more people open up about their issues on the internet, social media grows into a double-edged sword. On one end of the sword, it provides an environment in which people can receive sentimental assistance and connect with others in meaningful ways. On the other hand, prolonged exposure to hardships and suffering can cause emotional exhaustion. Here are statistics on the platforms that have contributed to the most empathy burnouts. As we've seen, social media can be both an effective tool for promoting empathy and an outlet for emotional distress. However, as with any tool, social media has its downsides such as empathy burnout and cyberbullying. Regardless of these obstacles, there's optimism for a positive outcome. As we become more aware of empathy burnout and the importance of self-care, it's critical for people to set limits with social media use and manage their online spaces in ways that promote emotional health.
Hello, my name is Isaac, and this is my topic, social media algorithms. At the core of this issue are the algorithms themselves. These advanced AI systems are designed to personalize user feeds by analyzing past behavior, such as which posts a user interacts with, the type of content they engage with, and even data like location. Algorithms use this information to sort and prioritize content that users are most likely to find engaging. For instance, if you may see more posts related topics you've engaged with recently, or ads for products you've considered buying, all aimed at keeping you on the platform longer. While this personalization is meant to improve the user's experience, It can also narrow the scope of the content users are exposed to, reinforcing their existing viewpoints. Angela Cabela explores the growing impact of social media algorithms on American politics, particularly how they contribute to increased political polarization. She highlights that social media algorithms designed to maximize user engagements have inadvertently created echo chambers that reinforce users' pre existing beliefs. This, in turn, amplifies the spread of misinformation and exposes individuals for more extreme ideologies, fostering distrust in the media and government institutions. The algorithms operate by sorting through vast amounts of data and selecting content based on factors like relevancy and user interest, often at the expense of less engaging but possibly more nuanced perspectives. By prioritizing content that sparks interaction, whether positive or negative, the algorithm creates a feedback loop where users are continually exposed to content that confirms their bias. This can escalate political and ideological divides as people are less likely to encounter opposing viewpoints or moderated, balanced information. Additionally, social media platforms rely on these algorithms to filter out harmful content and maintain safety by blocking or limiting exposure to offensive material, such as hate speech and extremism. However, despite these safety measures, the algorithm tendency to prioritize sensational or emotional charged content can still contribute to the rise of domestic terrorism, hate group participation, and other harmful behaviors. In summary, while social media algorithms enhance user experience by personalizing content, they also play a significant role in deepening political polarization and fueling distrust. By prioritizing engagement over balanced discourse, these algorithms amplify extreme voices and misinformation, leading to serious social consequences.
Hello, my name is Nico, and my main point that I'll be adding to this topic is the importance of understanding symbolic interactionalism within all of this. As Dalton Connolly explained it, symbolic interactionalism is a sociological theory that helps us understand how we create meaning through social interaction. It emphasizes the role of symbols and behaviors in shaping our reality. Our interactions shape our roles, ideas, and values, adding that this ongoing process constructs the reality we often take for granted. Assuming that most of us had had recent experience or went through the motions of mass media consumption, it might be beneficial to understand how it affects us. When connecting this to how we use symbolic interactionalism through mass media consumption, we need to take into account that the internet was only invented a couple decades ago, and that we are just now learning about the long and short-term effects that these platforms have in store, which makes it harder to find healthy habits for ourselves. For instance, the Journal of Affective Disorders provides us with early evidence of social media symptoms on young, vulnerable adults. They collected data through voluntary surveys based on levels of symptoms such as anxiety and depression. The research showed that teens who spent more time on social media had heightened amounts of these symptoms. We all remember first hearing about these similar reports, but we hadn't experienced a society of extreme isolation where social media was a main source of information. It was easier to take the phone away or to even restrict teens from using their phones, which is why when COVID-19 came around, we had a different way of reacting. SciPost.org recently explained why COVID-19 had such an impact on our social skills, also adding to the argument that despite us knowing its potential downsides, its fulfillment of our social needs became more of a priority and gave us a different way to subconsciously cope, which is maybe what Dalton meant by what we are taking for granted. When we think about social interactionalism, we think about everything that we take into account to shape our reality. If we only spend our time on social media, then our reality is only constructed by social media. Therefore, the solution would be to involve ourselves into more social groups where we can interact or in person, therefore limiting our time on social media and creating more real interactions.